Welcome to On the Same Page, a second generation series of experiences with nationally recognized and award winning authors, artists, and creators, brought to you by KET Education and the KET Young Writers Contest. We're glad you've joined us to learn from and collaborate with industry professionals from across the nation, as well as from right here in the Commonwealth. Grab pencils, some paper, and your creativity, and let's get on the same page with today's guest creator.
Well, for me, the journal is really the center of, or like the roots of my writing. And I put all kinds of things in here. I brought this old one, which is big enough that you can see something on the paper. This was given to me. I don't always have a real fancy one like this, but I like to put things of my that remind me where I was when I started this journal. So I was at the beach. So that's a gull feather. And this is a postcard from someone who is writing about what's happening in this picture. So I wanted to keep that. I have some artwork from my oldest son. It used to be on the refrigerator. Now it's in my journal. I have a picture of two good friends. They're both illustrators. One's also a writer. So I've worked with both of them. I write down my dreams. I write down things people say. I love trees, so I usually have leaves in my journal. You know, they talk about loose leaf notebooks. I guess that's what this is. A friend of mine had to have her dog put to sleep, and it was a traumatic experience, if you know how that is. So she got her nephew to draw a dog, and on the back is a little poem she wrote about Willie. And she gave this to all her friends to remember him. So I thought that was really wonderful. I wanted to keep it. This is where I was working on a picture book that never got published. What happens to most of the picture books I work on. But this one, I thought it was a fabulous story my friend told me about her dog, Punk. So it was called Punk the Wonder Dog. And she lived out on a farm next to another farm. And the mama cat on the other farm had kittens. And then she got run over by a car. So there was nobody to nurse those kittens. So Punk the Wonder Dog, who was expecting puppies, took those kittens under her wing or under her paws and fed them until her puppies came. And I wonder how those kittens learned to be cats, being mothered by a dog. But anyway, I thought it was a great story, so I tried to write it as a picture book. I like to paste different things in my journal too that remind me of good times. This was some Christmas wrapping. This was an award. And I just love this Righteous Babe Records picture. But most days I write stuff that nobody ever sees, but some days something starts that I think might be good for somebody else. And so then I take it out of my journal, type it up, and start working on it on the computer. This is, oops, no, that's not it. Somewhere there's a note from a reader, because I do keep, if kids write to me, I keep those, and sometimes they wind up in my journal. I also have a journal that's just for fun. It's called Eat This Book, and it's got paper made out of potato starch. You wouldn't want to eat your actual notebook because paper is made out of trees and rags, but this is food. So it comes with a food coloring pen. So you're not eating ink either, which probably wouldn't be good for you. So I think I'll just demonstrate how this works. So since we are here in the mountains, I'm going to write mountain. It's one of my favorite words anyway, because I'm from the mountains too. I'm from just over the mountain in Harlan County. So here we go. See what a mountain tastes like. A little rocky. The stream sort of tickles. Moss, very green and springy. Little wildflowers. A giant oak tree. Another use for this paper in this kind of notebook, if you're like studying your spelling words, you could write them all down and eat them and see if that helps. Many ways to learn. Okay. I think writing belongs to everybody because all of us have stories. Writers are just the people who write those stories down and try to make them better to find a way to share them with other people. So you've got the basics already. You have the language, you have the stories, you just have to start practicing. Have any of y'all ever written a poem called Where I'm From? Oh, good, good. Because that's where we're going to start. I wrote this poem almost 30 years ago, and it's just a list of experiences I'm from. I mean, I could say I'm from Harlan County, but that doesn't tell you a whole lot unless you've been there and have some sense of it. And anyway, it wouldn't tell you about me. So it's experiences I'm from and people I'm from that are in the poem. So here it goes. Oh, you need to know my daddy was a dry cleaner. So that's why this carbon tetrachloride chemical is in there. I'm from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I'm from the dirt under the back porch. Black, glistening. It tasted like beets. I'm from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I'm from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from he restoreth my soul with a cotton ball lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's Branch, fried corn and strong coffee, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. Well, this poem was different for me from anything else I'd ever written because it's just a list. And so I wrote lots and lots and lots and lots of I am from sentences or phrases. And then I just arranged them to make the poem. I didn't like sit down and try to write a whole draft of the poem the way I usually would do. So I would like you to write an I am from. Write 2 phrases, 2 sentences of experiences that you are from. Anybody have a question? It might be a song you're from. It might be a food you're from. It might be something your family says, like the perk up and pipe down that my family said. It might be, I had the forsythia bush and the Dutch elm, so it might be something outside. It might be a sport you play. It might be a pet you have. Right now, I'm from hand feeding my little gray cat who's sick. So that's one of the things I'm from right now. Maybe you're from your favorite color. Maybe you're from something that you dreamed. Maybe you're from something, someplace you've always wanted to go. Maybe you're from your favorite shoes. From a shirt that you feel most happy in. Maybe you're from moving from one place to another. Maybe you're from what you want to do when you grow up. So what I'd like to try now is to go around and just ask everyone to read one where I'm from line. And we'll hear it. We won't comment in between. So we'll just hear how the words flow together. And it'll be kind of a group where I'm from poem. Well, thank you all. Thank you for sharing those. And you can continue making this list because once you've done it, more things will come to you. And like, for instance, if you're from light blue, what are the light blue things? Is it the sky? Is it water? Is it something that you wear? Is it the blue of somebody's eyes? That could refer to a lot of things. And like, I'm from basketball. Well, do you play basketball? Was that you? You play? And what position do you play? Well, what's your favorite thing about it? Just having fun. I once asked a kid who said he was from baseball, and I asked him if he just watched it or if he played. And he said he played, and I asked him what position, and he said he was the catcher. I said, well, I don't think I'd like that mask on my face. And he said, I even love it when the sweat gets in my eyes. So, you just kind of zoom in on yourself and what you love about it. And so you can find more details that put us there. I was just imagining having that sweat in my eyes behind the catcher's mask. I feel that. Okay. I was going to show you, I said I wrote lots of where I'm from to get that one poem. So I made a little scroll to show you the draft. So it starts with just the front of this was the black and white speckled composition book I wrote it in. And so this is where it started. And I wrote, not all in one day, I just kept coming back to it and wrote and wrote and wrote. So, this was my writing road to get to that poem. And you can try that with your drafts of things too. See how long, see the course of your work with taping it all together. And remember, you're not supposed to finish it right away. You know, any kind of writing, you can explore it and see what else comes up. Sometimes we just want to be finished, and we really haven't even gotten started with all that's possible to write. So, and I still write where I'm from poems. This is not the only one. Okay. How many of you all were affected by the flood that came in July? Okay. How many of you have had a hard thing happen to you? A scary thing or a difficult thing? Anybody ever get lost? Anybody ever lose something or somebody you really cared about? Oh, okay. Anybody ever get blamed for something you didn't do? Anybody ever do something you didn't get caught at? That goes both ways, doesn't it? Yeah. Anybody ever move from one place to another? Okay. There's strong feelings there, you know. When something changes a lot all at once. So I know that what happened with the flood is still ongoing. You can tell that just by driving down the road and seeing what's changed. I happened to be in Heinemann on that night of July 28th. I was teaching at a workshop at the Appalachian Writers Association. So I was only here for one scary night. But my family was also in a flood many years ago. That's what my book, Come a Tide, is about. So I have some flood experience from a long time ago. And so much happened in just that one night that I've been writing about it ever since. So what I'd like us to try is to think of one detail of something that was hard. It might be the flood. It might be for people in Western Kentucky who went through the tornadoes. It might be the tornado. But one little moment, for example, all kinds of things happened that crazy night. But I remember the water sloshing in the hall as I walked through it. That's when the whole thing became real to me, when Troublesome Creek was in the hall. So I'd like to ask you to just write one small thing about from a scary or a hard experience. Now, does anybody have a question about that? You're not going to have to read it if you don't want to. So don't feel like, you have to censor yourself. Yeah.
So the hard time can be about like anything. Right?
Anything. It could be about an illness. It could be about losing somebody. It could be about a split up. It could be about a problem with a friend. It could be about something that happened with a pet. Just write it like you would tell it. Just talk on paper. Think about what you felt through your senses. Like I felt that sloshing I felt the sloshing of the water, and I heard it too. Because if you use your senses, we can be there with you if you use your senses. It can be any kind of difficult thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing like that affects a whole community. It can be something that just affected you. Anybody have a question? Need help? Maybe somebody says something that's scary. Maybe it's a movie that's scary. Maybe it's a person who's scary. Maybe it's just a secret you don't want to keep. Okay, we're going to go another minute and see what we got. Okay, if you're still writing, come to the end of your sentence. Oh, I forgot, it could be something that was really embarrassing. Like when I was in 3rd grade, I had a wraparound skirt on, one of those skirts that ties, and it was March and the wind was blowing and we were all out on the playground. And if you have one of those skirts, you need to double knot the tie, because otherwise something can happen like happened to me, which was that a guy came along and pulled the string and my skirt blew off. It just went like that. I mean, my skirt. So I quick ran into the band room, which was a separate building. And the seventh grade band the junior band was practicing in there. So then I was in more, I was giving a show in another place. So then I ran out the back, and finally I got to the cafeteria, and the cafeteria ladies gave me aprons front and back so I could go find my skirt, which was of course in a mud puddle. But you know, that was so super embarrassing when it happened. And now it's funny. Now it's funny, but it wasn't funny when it happened. Okay. So I'd like to go around again and invite you to read, or if you don't want to read, just to say a little bit about the process of writing or trying to write, what's going well or what's not going well. Okay.
It was scary because I did not want to lose my cat.
Oh, sure. Oh, let's go all around this table. Thank you.
A lot I cannot call my grandpa. I lost my house. Lost someone that I love because of COVID.
You still writing?
I lost my grandma because she died in the flood because it got inside of her house. One time I got lost in the woods with my brother, and we found the house 1 hour later. My dad went on drugs. Stop funny, guys. I lost my mama because she died by cancer.
You don't want to? That's okay. Just pass it on. You want to say anything about the process? Nope.
I lost my cousin because of drugs.
I lost someone I loved.
I lost somebody that I liked. Losing my grandfather and getting flooded by sadness, knowing I never got to say goodbye.
Oh. I'm seeing that. I don't need that. I've got one. I'll be double talking. Just keep it. There were some powerful feelings there. And I really appreciate your sharing them. And I also respect those of you who weren't ready to share. But the thing about a writing notebook is it can be a friend, because you can tell your notebook things that maybe you just need to get out, you know? So it's just stuck. And nobody else has to read it, but for me anyway, it feels better. It feels like I have a friend, a place to go to kind of sort feelings out and look for sometimes writing down the dark gets me closer to the light, I guess is what I'm thinking. Anybody have a question? Anybody want to say something about how it felt to do that kind of writing? Yeah. Whoa.
Whenever I lost my grandfather, it was just building up the sadness, but whenever it feels to get it out, it like helps in a way.
Kind of a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it helps. Thank you. Anybody else?
I think it was like very it was very like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a good feeling though to let it all out.
Good. Yeah.
Well, when I couldn't call my grandfather, it was real scary because the flood was happening and we couldn't get a hold of him, but we managed to.
Somebody else?
It was scary whenever my great Mama Sue died because she got washed away in the flood. It scared my Mama because she got her house burnt down in the flood. It scared me very bad.
Anybody else? Just think, here we are, just there's 16 of you, and all that's happened, all that's you've survived, and you've had that experience, and it has changed you in ways. And so writing sometimes can help you see what those changes are, or steer through them so they're not overwhelming. Sometimes you can actually just talk to people, but sometimes that's hard. And so first you can talk to yourself in your notebook, and then you may be ready to talk to somebody else. But it's not just all that confusion inside of so many feelings. Anybody else? Well, let's see, do we have any questions?
We do not have any questions, but we have had some great examples online
Oh,
of other
good.
hard things that friends have been through. And if I could ask Aaron to talk about sheltering under the library table, if you want to, I would love to share your example with the friends here in the room and hear it in your voice.
Yes, you can absolutely do that. I was in a tornado in 1995 when I was in high school, and it hit the front of our building, and we ended up, it was in May, ended up canceling the school year for about the last 3 weeks of school. And I was upstairs that early that morning for a beta club meeting, and we had no idea that that was getting ready to happen. And it was really scary. This is something I've written about and shared with my students too. So this is what I wrote. Crouching under the library table, watching the ceiling tiles flap overhead, whispering prayers in the morning darkness, surrounded by shards of glass. And that is something that happened a very long time ago, and I still have that memory burned in my brain.
Wow. Okay. I was, as I mentioned, my family in Harlan County was in the flood, on the other side of Pine Mountain. Not this flood, but it's been in more than 2 floods, but the first one that I remember was in 1963, and we got warning. The siren went off, and the warning was that that a wall of water was coming down, and we all had to get out of our little Rio Vista housing development. And Rio Vista means river view, so it's pretty funny when the river comes in your house and you really got a river view. But anyway, so we went up to higher ground across the railroad, up the mountain on Sookie Ridge. But before we left, my mother just grabbed a few things to take. and I had on my clown pajamas, I still remember. And what she took of all the things in the house that she might have taken to save, she took a bunch of bananas, the money that was in the washing machine, and there was money in the washing machine because my daddy was a dry cleaner. And at the end of the day, rather than put money in the safe, he would bring it home and put it in the washing machine because the safe had been broken into several times and it didn't seem a safe place. So he just leave the safe door open and bring the money home. So she got the money and she got the bananas and she got her girdle. I don't know if y'all know what a girdle is, but it's like stretchy underwear that's supposed to slim you down and, you know, and it used to hold your stockings up too. This is olden days. Anyway, so that's what she had. She had her girdle and the money and the bananas. No photographs, no things that could never be replaced. That time, the river didn't get in our house. But then in 63, then in 77, it was about this deep. And I wrote about it in a book called Come a Tide. I don't know if you all did you all see that or hear that? Okay, I might just read that to you. So this is illustrated by an artist named Stephen Gamble, and he lives in Minnesota. When he was working on these pictures and he was almost finished, he called me up and said, I want to put us on the title page. What are you wearing? And I said, well, I'm wearing jeans and a red shirt and a striped white shirt. He said, do you have a hat? I said, not inside. He said, well, I want you to have a hat on. What kind of hat do you have? I said, well, I have like an old beach hat. So this is him. This is the artist. So, and I don't know who he modeled the rest of the people on. For friends and neighbors in Harlan County, Kentucky, and for everyone who ever dug out. Last March it snowed, and then it rained for 4 days and nights. It'll come a tide, my grandma said. And sure enough, when all the creeks rushed down to the river, like kinfolks coming home, it did. It washed away little naked gardens on Clover Fork, pigs and chickens on Martin's Fork, and a whole front porch on Poor Fork. We stood on our bridge and watched them swirl by. Ooh-ee-oo, cried the pigs. The river nudged the bridge bottom. Still we boasted, it won't flood us. But we left our radios crackling that night when we went to sleep. The warning whistle didn't have to blow twice. Cloudburst, the radio said, wall of water coming down. In 5 minutes, we jumped in our clothes and were outside headed for the creek. Did you hear the whistle? Do you want to go with us? Mama called to our neighbor, Mrs. Mack. Joe won't go till he finds his teeth. So I've put a pot of coffee on. Did you hear the whistle? Do you want to go with us? Mama called to Papa Bill across the street. I heard it, honey, but I've got me a boat and I'm aiming to find the oars. Rain came down like curtains as we drove up Grandma's hill. She fed us warmed over biscuits and coffee, stout as a post. Then she sent us to bed. When light flooded in and I was asleep, Daddy went out scouting. Water up to the piano keys, but the house is solid. What do we do now? If it was me, Grandma said, I'd make friends with a shovel. And we did. The Macs, the Canes, Papa Bill. Next day, everyone was shoveling. Soggy furniture and mud-mapped rugs made mountains in front of each house. But we dug and hauled, we scrubbed and crawled to find our buried treasure. Now we'll be fine, except in spring when the rain and snow come together. Then I'll hold my breath and hope Grandma won't say, children, it'll come a tide. So this is I couldn't have written this right when it happened. I wrote it years later when I could remember some funny things that happened, you know, as well as what was so scary that happened. But if you put down just little memories, you may be able to reclaim some of what you've lost, the memories of the people, the memories of the place. I find that writing is healing in that way. So I think we're about to wrap up, but let's see if anybody else has a question. I think that finding your voice is one of the most powerful things you can do. And you might find it in singing. You might find it in dancing. You might find it in a sport that expresses just who you are. I think that's part of our work, is to find out the best thing we have to give. And writing can help you get closer to that. So I brought some pens, and I'm just gonna pass this around and let everybody take one. I love to write in different colors, so I just pass it around. So this way, this will remind you that you have stories and you have a friend in those pages. Those pages are blank because your heart is scrawled over with stories. They're empty because your heart is full. They're light so you can make your mark. Bless you. They're waiting for what you have to say. And if you do keep the journal, you'll be able to go back a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, and see what you were thinking and feeling all that long ago. Okay, well, I hope the pen will remind you of this time and of the friend you have in that little notebook. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know this was a challenge, both to write and then read something and then pretend we're not being watched by the thing that's watching us. Exactly. Exactly. But I appreciate your being willing to give it a try.
And Miss Georgella, you have many thanks from schools across the state in Lexington and beyond, saying thank you so much for this and how great it was and how thankful they are that they could see you, hear you, and learn from you. So thank you for being here for On the Same Page too as well.
And I forgot to say my thanks at the beginning. First of all, to you all for giving this a try, to Ms. Nichols for hosting this, for Beaver Creek for making us welcome, and of course to KET for setting up the whole thing and for their wonderful work.
Well, we of course are happy to do it. And thank you, friends who have joined us online. We appreciate you being here. We hope to see you in future On the Same Page visits. They will take a brief pause here until January. And in January, we will invite back some more authors. The first visit back in January is with Bruce Hale, who is the author of many series of books, including Clark the Shark. So we hope you will sign up for future events. And thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.